Hello, and welcome to a non-negotiable episode of We Only Look Thin. I am hard as nails, Catherine Weigel.
Whoa, you sure are.
And I have lost a lot of weight. I'm a Tiny Habits coach. I am a Thrive Global certified coach.
Yeah.
I am a podcaster. I am a coacher. And with me today is...
Donald Weigel, and I have lost about 100 pounds. And just before we started recording this, Catherine called me the crystal light of men.
I was going to say that, like I was going to call it back, but yeah.
But nobody listening would get the reference. But I asked Catherine if she believed in Crystal Light and if Crystal Light believed in her, and she said yes. And so then I said I believe in her. And so now I'm the crystal light of men. So hello, I am the crystal light of men, Donald Weigel, and I lost about 100 pounds, and I've kept it off for about 5 years, and we only look thin together.
Yep, and that is non-negotiable. We have gone too far. I mean, the whole being married for 25 years was a thing.
Our 25th wedding anniversary is barreling down upon us.
Very soon.
Yeah.
We're trying to see if we can make it.
Yeah,
but,
and we officially decided we're not exchanging any
gosh.
cards or any gifts. Or
I'm sure you would like a gift. I don't like cards. What?
No, I don't want a gift because I don't want the pressure of getting you a gift.
I don't. Well, isn't that a gift in itself?
Yeah, it
me
is.
not giving you a gift?
It is. It really is. It's
don't
like this
know.
big weight lifted off of me.
Are we bad because we haven't renewed our vows or
It sounds like so much work.
Oh
And
my
it seems too
gosh.
soon. 25 years, it seems too
we're
soon.
barely breaking the surface of what we can do.
Yeah.
I'm not a gifts person. I'm not a card person. I know he loves me. Isn't
Yeah.
that conceited?
I'll run the vacuum for you or something. That would be
Women
oh my goodness.
love that.
Her face lit up when I said I would run the vacuum.
No, but when you run the vacuum,
Yeah.
the Hoover, the sweeper,
Yes.
whatever you
run
call
the
it.
sweeper. That's what we called it when I was growing up,
I know.
the sweeper.
Run the sweeper.
Yeah.
You do it. You don't do it
Yeah.
frequently, but when you do, you lift up furniture, you move things. I just do a cursory thing to get daily neat. But when you do it, you're floorboards and ceilings and you vacuum all the things.
Yeah,
So.
I feel like that we haven't openly negotiated this to bring it back to the topic of the episode, but I feel like there are things that I do because I don't hate doing them. I don't hate doing the dishes. For example, I don't hate filling the ice trays or keeping the Brita, but I hate vacuuming. And you tend to do most of that.
Well, here's the thing.
So I sort of feel like we without saying it negotiated this arrangement where I do some of those things and you take care of the vacuuming.
Well, here's the thing with vacuuming. For me, it's an immediate upgrade.
Yeah.
When I'm feeling down, when I'm feeling blue, when someone comes over, which doesn't happen because we don't do it.
No, we don't.
We have a moat for that.
No. We don't involve people in,
No,
in
that's
things
not-
that we do.
That's
no.
not what we're about.
Yeah.
But sometimes when I have work to do or maybe even work out to do,
Yeah.
I want to avoid it.
Oh, yeah.
And so I go, you know what? A good hoovering would be a good running the sweeper.
Do you actually say hoovering to yourself?
No, but I watch British things and they say hoovering.
They do
a
say
lot.
hoovering, and they say washing up liquid.
Yeah, they
instead
do.
of dish liquid.
They do. But I negotiate with what it's time to do. And some of that is avoidance and avoiding by keeping our house spotless.
Yeah, I'm pretty good at that. Do you think that in general you're a good negotiator?
No, I'm terrible at it. I hate it. The car that I bought.
Well, see, but that's funny. I was gonna bring up the car. When we went to buy the car, the salesperson was like, so do you want the rust protection and the clear coat and all those things you're supposed to to not get? And I was like, you know what? I think we do want the clear cut and the rust. And you were like, no. We're not doing any of that.
I just wanted to get home.
I don't want the special warranty. I'm not taking any of that.
Oh my gosh, it was annoying.
You were hardcore about it. I think
that was
you were
because
really
I wanted to go home. I just
Yeah.
didn't want when I know what I want, I take it,
Yeah.
and I don't.
Like me.
It's actually yes. It's much easier for me to negotiate for other people than it is for myself. But I do. I'm not very good at not negotiating on my own habits.
Yeah.
So we're bringing it back around
Well,
this
did you know,
episode.
I'm gonna act as if this is spontaneous.
Okay.
Did you know that if you Google negotiation tactics, that you get over 200,000 results, and there's like a bunch of websites that have articles like the 17 best negotiation tactics
17
and how to win your next negotiation. There actually was one that was 17. I didn't know why it wasn't 15 or why they didn't add 3 more to 20. Maybe they just had 17.
But sometimes it's like when you're in a parking garage and it says like 7 miles an hour is the maximum. Because if it was 5 or 10, you wouldn't take notice. But 7,
yeah,
who uses that number for anything?
It's true. But did you also know that the person with whom most of us negotiate the most is ourselves?
Oh, no.
Yes.
It's not Samuel L. Jackson from the movie The Negotiator?
No. That's who you thought it might be?
I don't know.
Most of us negotiate with Samuel L. Jackson from that movie.
What was the show that Kira Sedgwick was in? Wasn't she a negotiator?
The Closer.
Oh, The Closer.
Yeah.
If you put
I don't know if that had anything to do with negotiating. I think she solved crimes.
Oh, okay. But like if it like putting the in front of it is like that's your guy or gal.
The negotiator.
But if it was like a negotiator, like I would not go see that movie. I mean, not that I saw the other movie.
I look in the mirror and I point and I say, that guy is the negotiator.
The negotiator?
Yeah, because I spent most of my life negotiating with myself and negotiating myself into eating snacks or out of exercising. Well, or both at the same time.
Well, and when you start that conversation with yourself, you're always on team bad guy. Like you're always the one trying to rob the bank. You're not the good guy trying to save the bank.
Do you think team bad guy, like when they called themselves team bad guy,
maybe that was a sign.
Maybe they had to like, instead of like the Legion of Evil, like maybe it should be like the Legion of furthering our own aims or something.
But here's the thing with bad guys. I don't know. I can't remember. I'm very good at not knowing specifics about things.
Yeah.
But there was something about how the bad guys never see themselves as the bad guys.
Yeah,
they see themselves as the heroes. But when we start negotiating with ourselves against our own best interest, we usually give in because we start the conversation to begin with.
Yeah. And we walk around and this was me, walk around saying things like, I want to lose weight. I want to exercise more. I want to eat healthier. And then I would talk myself out of it. I'm just too busy. I'm just too tired. It's not the right time. I'm just not motivated. Or, I promise to myself, I will start after I just finish this project at work. If I can just get through this bit of
one
work,
season,
then I'll start. Or I just need to make it through the school year. Like once the school year is over, then, we can get down to business. Or something like, I can't do anything until after my sister's wedding. Or even like we're on an actual plan and we've got things in motion for our health and fitness, but then we say things like, I can't pass up a free lunch.
Yeah.
I'll just start tomorrow. Like, oh, the office brought in free food. Well, I can't pass up free food. Like that would be crazy, or I don't want to be the only one who doesn't eat the cake. Like I'll feel self-conscious if I'm the only one not eating cake. So I guess I have to eat cake, like when they bring in cake for Sally's birthday.
Good old Sally.
Good old Sally and her birthday. And, I can't remember how I found this, but I found this article that's actually titled, Stop Negotiating with Yourself, Changing Your Habits Once and for All. Maybe I was researching the 200,000.
You're the guy who goes to the last page of Google to get the real deal. So he went down.
I went down, the 210,000th result that came up. But Stop Negotiating Yourself, Changing Your Habits Once and for All by Nicole, and I'm going to butcher her last name. It's either Boaz or Booz or Boaz. But I will link to the article in the show notes. But we're going to do that thing we do where we take the article that she's written and use it as a framework to talk about our spin on how it relates to health and fitness and losing weight and getting your goal weight and staying there.
And what else?
And what else?
And all the things you can do.
I'm not going to take a breath. I'm just going to keep going.
But it's interesting to me to see, we have talked about things before and we have our own way of explaining information, and then we present someone else's and their turn of phrase is a little bit different, or maybe someone just needs to hear it one more time in a different way. And so we've done episodes on mindset before, but here is another take on it, like Donald said, because that idea of negotiating with yourself is such a sabotage that we don't even know what's or that it's happening, because we're just so used to doing it. We're like, well, it's just the way it is. But as we've said before, the more agency and responsibility you take for yourself, the more empowered you feel. We are not a victim of our choices. We are the ones that are putting food in our mouths.
Absolutely.
So in this episode, this is probably going to be a multi-part episode, depending on how we get through things.
Yeah, there's going to be at least 2, and I think probably 3 of these about self-negotiation right in a row. But I think it's very important, and not to jump the gun, but I spent so much of my life lying myself and lying to myself and lying to myself like right into doing the exact things that I knew I didn't really want to do deep down.
Yeah, which was probably exercise.
yeah, exactly.
Okay, so in this episode, we are going to cover what is self-negotiation.
Yeah.
The difference between an excuse and a reason. They're all reasons.
Yeah, exactly.
And then we're going to help you identify your own self-negotiating tactics.
Exactly.
So I think we're going to roll it out with Donald. Donald. Yeah. How does Webster's Dictionary define self-negotiation?
Self-negotiation is the act of, I don't know. I didn't actually look it up.
I did.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Do you have the definition right there?
Yeah. So if something is negotiable, it's open for discussion, undecided, debatable, and open to modification.
Oh, wow.
And the thing that is most open to modification is the things I put in my mouth.
Yes, exactly.
So I did actually look it up. I didn't want to steal your thunder, but
well, and basically, from the article I mentioned by Nicole, last name, I
insert last name
here. She basically says self-negotiating is giving yourself too many options, and there are a bunch of examples here that I took some of the ones that she did and I have semi-modified them to be more about health and fitness. So she says, for example, you say to yourself, that burger looks so good. If I have that for lunch, I will work out an extra 30 minutes at the gym tonight. No, you're not going to do that.
Yeah, because you're so full from the burger. How are you to know?
Plus, as a like side note, what do we know about exercise, trying to exercise away extra calories? Like you can't do it. It doesn't work. And then she would say, I'm really too tired to read today. So I change it to, I'm really too tired to exercise today. I worked really hard. I deserve to just relax with some wine and Netflix. And I would say that to myself like all the time. I would promise myself I was going to work out after work and then just be like, you know what? No, I'm just too tired. I can't do it.
Yeah. And every single thing that was in my best interest. Oh, I'll save money. Oh, I'll go on a spending freeze. I'll definitely go to the gym every day. Well, now that I think of it, that's not really practical. And
exactly.
So you're setting your future self up to hate the you of the past for kicking everything down the road.
And the next one is, I wanted to call my mom every Saturday, but I have nothing to say. I'll just call her next week. So the health and fitness example of this would be, I wanted to food prep every Saturday, but I just don't feel like grocery shopping. I'll do it next Saturday. And then guess what happened the next Saturday? You're still in the same boat. Or you say, I know I wanted to limit my my drinking. I know I wanted to limit drinking my calories, and the example in the article is I wanted to limit my caffeine intake, but I'm just so tired. I'll go for the venti cup today and just cut back tomorrow.
Just need a pick me up today.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Tomorrow never comes.
Or I don't want to spend anything this month, but this deal is just too good to pass up. And it could be, I wasn't going to eat any fast food this week, but my boss bought burger time for the office, and I just can't pass up free food.
Free burger time? You've got to be a fool to skip that.
And so we negotiate with ourselves constantly. And then some other examples from my actual life are, I would do this for years and years. Like, I have done nothing but work. I'm just going to stay up another half hour and watch this episode of Seinfeld because I deserve to do something that's just for me and just relax. Or I should go to bed right now because I promised myself I was going to exercise early tomorrow morning, but I just need to scroll on my phone for another 10 minutes, which turns into another 20 minutes, which turns into 30 minutes, and then I don't get to sleep. And then the next morning, I'm too tired to really get up and do that exercise effectively. So I turn that alarm off, or I reset it for another half hour later, and then I don't do it.
Well, and two, there's a thing that I would do of, I would make a promise to myself, you know what? I'm not going to get any fast food this month. Like that's my cutoff.
Right.
Oh, but I forgot it was like the special return of the McDLT. Like, oh, well, I mean, like, I can't. I mean, I'm going to just make an exception for that. Oh, but there's this Shamrock
the
steak,
McRib or the Shamrock shake.
The,
like those are only available for a limited time. You can't pass those up.
It's Girl Scout season. This is just, I didn't really think about that when I made the promise. So this isn't a good time to make any promises at all.
Yeah, but all of that is really just you're lying to yourself. And part of the key to getting out of this is recognizing when you're doing it. But also, there are times when you actually have legitimate reasons. But what is the difference between when you're making an excuse for yourself and a reason?
Yeah, that's a very good question, Donald. I'm glad that you asked it.
Thank you. I try to ask good questions.
Okay, so there really are differences between genuine reasons. Genuine,
like the rapper? Yeah. Isn't there a rapper named Genuine?
Oh, I guess so. I was thinking
Genuine?
more.
I can't remember. I don't know.
Thinking more of
I'm
the Beverly
so terribly out of touch.
Beverly Hillbillies.
Oh, you were pronouncing it like
genuine,
that? Like
cement
genuine
pond.
Cement Pond. I was gonna say Cement Pond.
Exactly. So there's the difference between a genuine cement pond and an actual excuse. And
you know what's terrible? Like I know the Beverly Hills. The Hillbillies reference from what that show was on in like the
40 years ago.
40s or 50s or something. And then like Genuine, like I have no idea who I'm actually talking about. I've just heard of a singer performer by that name.
Well, that's because I'm down with the kids. We have a teenager, and I'm sure that they know what slaps.
Probably.
Right now. So
probably.
Anyway, okay. So there is a difference between an excuse and an actual reason.
Oh, yeah, that's what we were talking about.
Back to the original thing. So an excuse is when you are choosing not to do something and using self-negotiation as an avoidance technique. You also never, ever, ever follow through with the promised negotiation. And that's a really big sign that pushing it down the road. Oh, well, I promise if you give me a cookie now, I'll clean my room later.
Right.
It's putting the carrot before the horse or the chicken before the egg. I can't remember how that goes. But it's that, promising a bigger challenge down the road. And again, you usually are like, oh, well, yeah, and then that didn't really work. And you lose trust in yourself. So it's like when you start using those words and that negotiation, at the very end, it's like, she would do no such thing. Like, oh, I'll exercise later. No, she would not. Like if history shows it's not going to happen.
Exactly.
But an actual reason is an external factor beyond your control. And it's usually a physical event. So maybe it's like, okay, I was going to go to the gym, but there's a deadline tomorrow on my project. I've got to get that done. That's a reason to skip something, or an illness, or a cold, or an injury, or a schedule change. We can adapt and be conscious of like, oh gosh, that means I'm going to miss the gym. Okay, well, that's disappointing, but my habit is to get right back on it the next day. But when you start, like the gears are going and you're playing your own like criminal mastermind in your head of how am I going to get myself out of doing what I said I want to do?
Yeah.
That is where the excuses come in.
And part of this process, part of the reason that I was able to lose the 100 pounds and maintain it for as long as I have is that I was able to recognize when I was lying to myself. And this is one of the things that I think we don't talk about very much in society. Like you sign up for some, diet exercise plan and people just want to give you recipes, tell you what to eat. And I think that we just generally, that's what we think we want. And that's what we're looking for. And that's really just a small piece of the puzzle. But realizing that I was lying to myself all the time and really just making up excuses to eat, treats and soothe myself with food and all of this emotional eating that I was doing was really once I realized that I was doing it, it made it much harder to follow through. So part of this process is being brutally honest with yourself about which is which, about when you are making excuses and when you actually have a reason. Like if you're sick, that's a real reason.
Right.
All these other things like I deserve it, et cetera. Like I've had a hard day, I'm tired. Those are all excuses.
Well, and once you get to the point where you see it in yourself, it's a little bit embarrassing to see how many times I knew I was lying to myself. And now that I'm older and wiser, going like, oh my gosh, I wasted so much time trying to get out of things instead of pointing myself in the right direction.
And I still lie to myself occasionally, but I always catch myself doing it. Like I might start to do it and then I have to really decide like, okay, am I consciously going to, give in to this impulsive desire, or am I really going to stick to my plan? And when I find that when I do stick to my plan, I'm so much more proud of myself and proud of my actions, and it makes it so much harder to give in to that impulsive temptation.
Right.
So how do you recognize your own self-negotiation tactics? Well, the author of the article says it's not as difficult as you think because we as human beings tend to use the same scripts over and over again. So here are a few key phrases to be on the lookout for when you're saying these things to yourself. Just 5 more minutes. I'll do it tomorrow. Just one or just one more. If I do this now, I'll do that later.
Right.
And then I would add, the one that I use a lot was, I deserve this.
Right.
I had such a hard day. Sally was so mean to me despite it being her birthday that I just deserve this treat right now. And then some keywords that pop up often when we're making excuses are just, because, later, tomorrow, and maybe.
Well, and another one that I've got is that, you know what? I like just going back to the deserving that or, justifying, which we've talked about before.
Yeah.
But doing that thing where you confuse a justification or, oh, this is an actual reason. You think that it is self-care to go against what you actually want to do. To not work out. Well, you know what? I'm really this is self-care. If I don't work out, it's just because I really need to decompress and I really need me time.
Yeah.
And I think with the words self-care being thrown around so much, I think it is really hard to know sometimes, why am I doing this? And what are my motivations or intentions in this?
Yeah, for sure.
So as we said at the beginning, we have decided to break this up into a few parts because I know we tend to give a lot of suggestions and ideas for people to go through for each episode. So we're going to leave you with some homework assignments.
Homework.
Homeworks.
Oh, no.
No, they're small exercises that you can do.
This is fun, productive homework. Well, okay, fun might be stretching it, but...
Well, I think sometimes you want to get right to it and fix all your problems. But this week, we're going to ask you to be an observer of not only yourself, but of others. So the first thing we would ask you to do is pay attention to the words that you use. Are you making excuses or do you have valid reasons? And if the valid reasons are many, maybe it's time to look at things in a different way. Just pay attention to what you say to yourself. We did an episode a long time ago about the book, What to Say When You Talk to Yourself, and how you actually describe or narrate your own life matters in the way you see the world.
Yeah, for sure.
So what do you notice about yourself? Are you using those words like just, because, later, maybe, all of those negotiation tactics? Would we be proud of you? Would Samuel L. Jackson be proud of you? But sometimes too, it is hard to see our own flaws. We think that we're doing everything right, and perhaps we're just victims of the surroundings around us. So aside from looking at the words that you use yourself, consider paying close attention to the words that those around you use, whether it's coworkers or kids or neighbors. Are other people justifying things, kicking things down the road, making excuses? What patterns do you see in them, and how does it make you feel about them?
Yeah, and it's oftentimes a lot easier to see these things in other people than to see them in ourselves. And by observing them in other people, it then maybe if you're really thinking about it, it can be easier to spot these patterns in yourself.
Right. So how we narrate our own lives really does matter. Are you making excuses or are there actual stumbling blocks that you might need to work around to make your goals stick? The thing that we do now that we didn't do before is we have become adaptable. We have become sort of scientists in our own habits.
Absolutely.
And students of our own behavior. And the more we understand how our brains work, how our patterns of behavior work, and how we see that in others, the more success we can find in all areas of our life. Because Donald and I were victims for decades of things happening to us and working together in a bad way to go up the scale over 100 pounds from one excuse to another.
Absolutely.
So please take this week to consider what you say to yourself and how you see others. Next week, we are going to cover more things, aren't we, Donald?
We absolutely are. We are going to talk about how to start building your self-negotiation out of your life and start building systems and habits. How to take negotiation out of the process, creating plans and backup plans, and creating policies for yourself.
You mean just knowing what I do isn't enough to change things?
Sadly, no. But it is the crazy first step,
it's
important
half the battle.
First step. Yeah, it really is half the battle, realizing that you're doing it. So please join us next week for that. And thank you so much for listening this week. We are grateful to each and every one of you. You can find all of our episodes on all the major podcast platforms, wherever you found this one. And you can also listen to them at any time on our website, weonlylookthin.com.
Yep. And if you are at weonlylookthin.com, you can click on that link for Join Our Support Group. To find out more about Wolt Place, We Only Look Thin Place is a Facebook-based accountability group for women. We are not a weight loss plan, but we are a place for accountability, check-ins, and honestly, just candid conversations about the struggles, setbacks, and successes in weight loss. We have 2 subscription options, a monthly option with a 3-day complimentary trial and a 3-month subscription with a 7-day complimentary trial to see if Wolt Place is right for you.
Absolutely. So please check that out. And if you would like to interact with us in other ways, you can find us on all the social medias. Well, not the TikToks, but all the other ones. We are on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at We Only Look Thin. And you could even email us if you would like to. We have turned many listener emails into episodes. We will answer questions. We like compliments. We enjoy hearing from you. You can do that to weonlylookthin@gmail.com.
Yep, and if you have a couple of extra spare minutes and can head over to Apple Podcast and leave us a rating and a review, not only does it help us know that what we're doing is making a difference, but it also helps others find our podcast when they are looking for inspirational podcasts such as ours.
Yes, indeed. Or if you'd like to help us out, please tell somebody about the show. If you know somebody who you think might gain something from the show. If it comes up in conversation and you think it's germane, we would appreciate a shout out. Or if you're on, a Discord server or a Reddit group, something like that, a Facebook group, and somebody's looking for a podcast, or you think it would be worth shouting us out, we would be grateful, because that is one of the best ways in which the show grows.
So whether you're hoovering to get neat or vacuuming to avoid your homework assignments, please remember that Donald and I are an inspiration.
Why can't it be both?
The information that you hear on this podcast is for informational purposes only. The hosts are not medical professionals. You should always consult with your doctor, nurse, or other certified health professional before beginning any diet or fitness program.